Now I'm about to put my game face on. I got the jersey on, so now the game face gotta go on.
The Syracuse University basketball Orange began the 2011-2012 season with high expectations. With 4 starters back from last year's team, including seniors Chris Joseph and Scoop Jardine, the Orange was ranked 5th in the Associated Press's preseason poll.
It's a big year for us, man. I think we really could do it. Just continuing just to work hard and staying together as a unit. That's how we can handle expectations.
I think this year we probably have the opportunity to have the most depth that we've ever had here.
The Orange opened the season on November 12th at home against the Fordham Rams. What immediately stood out was the depth Syracuse coach Jim Boeheim had at his disposal. 9 different players logged a minimum of 16 minutes in the 78-53 victory over Fordham. After winning its first 3 games, Syracuse was hit by the kind of scandal that could have derailed the entire season. 2 former Syracuse ball boys accused SU assistant coach Bernie Fine of sexual abuse, which allegedly dated back to the 1980s. The controversy sent shockwaves throughout the Syracuse community and in particular the SU basketball program. Fine, an assistant to Boeheim for 36 years, was placed on administrative leave, and the empty seat on the bench next to Boeheim during Syracuse's defeat of Colgate loomed large.
We're going to focus on basketball like we did today. I'm confident I have taken the right stance, said the right things, and now we'll let this thing play out.
As the scandal's cloud hung over the program, the Orange basketball team forged ahead. In the spotlight of the national media attention, Syracuse went to New York City for the NIT season tip-off, where it defeated Virginia Tech and Stanford at Madison Square Garden. Chris Joseph came up big in both contests. He scored 20 points against Virginia Tech and came back with a team-high 18 in the win over Stanford. On November 28th, following the introduction of new evidence in the Bernie Fine case, Syracuse University issued a release stating that Fine had been fired. The program was thrust even further into the national spotlight as rumors and speculation swirled on TV and radio shows by the hour. The following night, Syracuse was back on the basketball court as they faced Eastern Michigan, coached by former Orange assistant Rob Murphy. Emotions ran high in the Dome as Orange fans showed strong support for Boeheim amidst the turbulence of the Fine scandal. Syracuse's 84-48 victory became an afterthought as Boeheim faced a throng of both national and local media in the post-game press conference, focused only on the Fine situation.
I'm saddened in many ways by what's unfolding.
It happened on your watch.
I do my job.
Coach, that first statement.
Said more than you acknowledged. The initial statements may have been insensitive.
I've said everything that I'm going to say.
It's definitely sad, that it happened, but once again, we can't do anything about it. As a team, we just have to stay together and play basketball and not let anything distract us.
Syracuse faced its first nationally ranked opponent on December 2nd when number 10 Florida came to the Carrier Dome. The Orange used a late surge to rally past the Gators for a 72-68 victory. Brandon Trish, the junior guard from Janesville DeWitt High School, scored 20 points to lead Syracuse. Again, the game seemed almost secondary in the post-game press conference as Boeheim issued an emotional apology regarding statements he had made on the Fine situation.
What I said last week was out of loyalty. I reacted without thinking. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I'm trying to learn from my mistake. And this has been a hard time.
After wins over Marshall and George Washington, Syracuse jumped to number 1 in the national rankings. In the wake of the turmoil of the Fine scandal, local support and enthusiasm for the team grew stronger than ever.
Go Cuse, number 1!
Syracuse went to North Carolina State for its first true road test of the season. The Orange closed the game on a 25-11 run for an 88-72 win in Raleigh. Syracuse's bench proved to be the difference. The Orange reserves outscored their NC State counterparts 46-4. Dion Waiters scored 22 points. James Sutherland and C.J. Fair each added 11 points. Syracuse kept rolling, beating Bucknell and Tulane to wrap up its non-conference schedule with a perfect 13-0 record. As the Orange continued to win, another big storyline was developing. Fab Melo, who had struggled mightily as a freshman, had shed nearly 30 pounds since his arrival in Syracuse and was exhibiting much more of his talent on the court. In Syracuse's Big East opener, Melo set a new school record with 10 blocked shots, eclipsing the previous record of 9 set by Atan Thomas.
They try to make layups, and I say, oh, I'm going to try to block everything. That's what I did.
Syracuse beat DePaul and Providence on the road to set up a big matchup with Marquette at the Dome.
Explosive, baby!
The Golden Eagles had beaten Syracuse twice in the 2010-2011 season, including a win that ousted SU from the NCAA tournament. Syracuse jumped out to a 37-19 halftime lead thanks to a 19-0 run midway through the half. In the second half, Marquette rallied, and with the Orange holding on to a narrow lead late, Dion Waiters came up with the play of the game. Waiters rose up to block Darius Johnson-Odom's three-pointer from the top of the key, then gathered in the loose ball and charged down court for a bucket to give SU a 63-57 lead. The Orange held on for the 73-66 win to go to 17-0 on the season.
I just was going at it, best way I could, and I just jumped, and I blocked it.
Syracuse beat Villanova in Philadelphia and then downed Providence for the second time in the season. Then on January 16th, Syracuse defeated Pittsburgh at the Carrier Dome. The win was the 20th of the season for the still unbeaten Orange, setting a new school record for the most consecutive wins to start a season. The win also tied Jim Boeheim with Kentucky legend Adolph Rupp for fourth place on the NCAA's all-time coaching wins list.
The only thing I care about is this year. That's it. What we're doing this year. Everything else is...
On January 21st, Syracuse would face Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana. On the day before the game, the SU coaches learned that Fab Melo would not be eligible to play due to unresolved academic issues. It was bad news, especially considering Notre Dame's long history of knocking off #1 ranked teams in its home arena. Right from the outset of the game, Syracuse appeared ripe for an upset. Notre Dame jumped out to an early lead and led by as many as 18 points in the first half. Syracuse staged a second-half rally, but never seriously threatened. Notre Dame won 67-58, sending the Orange to their first loss of the season. Syracuse would get just one day to regroup from the defeat. The Orange headed straight from South Bend to Cincinnati, where Syracuse would face the Bearcats, plus a sold-out crowd at the Fifth Third Arena. The Orange, still without Fab Melo, bounced back with a 60-53 win over Cincinnati. Chris Joseph led the team with 17 points, while Rakeem Christmas, who had to play more minutes due to Melo's absence, came up big with a career-high 9 rebounds. Next, Syracuse met West Virginia at the Carrier Dome with Melo still sidelined. The game came down to the final possession. With Syracuse leading 63-61, West Virginia center Dennis Kalikla grabbed the rebound and went up for the game-tying shot. Bai Keita blocked the shot. Replays would later confirm that Keita's block should have been called a goaltending violation. But Syracuse couldn't control the rebound, and West Virginia had one more opportunity with 6 seconds remaining. The Mountaineers got the ball to Kevin Jones, their senior All-Big East candidate, but his potential game winner from three-point range was just off target. The Orange survived for a 2-point victory, 63-61.
It was a tough game, a character game. Showed a lot of heart, showed toughness, and it got W.
With Fab Melo reinstated, Syracuse went back to New York City, where the Orange faithful turned their clash with St. John's at Madison Square Garden into a virtual home game. The Orange roared past the Young Johnnies for a 95-70 victory.
Stand up and go crazy! Let's go, let's beat Georgetown!
On February 8th, Syracuse hosted Georgetown for what may have been the final Big East Conference game between the two longtime rivals at the Carrier Dome. If it was the last visit by the Hoyas to the Dome before SU's departure to the ACC, it was a fitting farewell. Chris Joseph scored a career-high 29 points, including the game-winning three-pointer in overtime to give the Orange a 64-61 victory.
It's always a good game, always will be, as long as we keep playing them. It'll be a great game, and it always is.
Joseph, who had been mired in a shooting slump, went 9 for 20 from the field and 6 for 11 from three-point range. Syracuse continued its gauntlet of rivalry games with an 85-67 win over Connecticut in front of a home crowd of over 33,000, the fourth largest dome crowd ever. The Orange then traveled to Louisville to face the 24th-ranked Cardinals. Syracuse had lost its last 7 games against the Cardinals and had not beaten them in Louisville since Louisville joined the Big East in 2005. The two clubs slugged it out in a defensive battle. The Orange led by 8 points late in the game, but Louisville rallied for a 51-46 lead with less than 4 minutes to go. Syracuse took charge down the stretch though, scoring the last 6 points for a 52-51 victory. CJ Fair scored 13 points to lead the Orange, while Fab Melo finished with 11 points and 6 rebounds. Syracuse grinded out hard-fought victories over Rutgers on the road and South Florida at home.
No matter what the score was, we still had confidence that we was going to win.
On February 25th, the Orange traveled to Storrs to take on Connecticut for the second time in 2 weeks. Syracuse burst out to a 14-point halftime lead, which stretched to 17 early in the second half. UConn staged a furious rally to tie the game before Fab Melo dunked home CJ Fair's miss with under a minute left. The Huskies had one final chance on their last possession, but Dion Waiters blocked Ryan Boatwright's three-point attempt to preserve the Orange victory. The 71-69 win gave Syracuse the outright Big East regular season title. Syracuse returned home to take on Louisville on Senior Day at the Carrier Dome. SU seniors Scoop Jardine and Chris Joseph were honored before the game in their final home appearance for the Orange. Syracuse took control of the game in the first half and cruised to an easy victory over the Cardinals. It was a fitting farewell for the Orange seniors and for a team that had truly earned all of its accolades.
It's everything I expected, and I'm happy to be a part of something so special like this.
The 2011-2012 Syracuse University basketball Orange finished the regular season with a 30-1 record, the top mark in school history. Add to that an outright Big East title, an all-time best 20-0 start, an undefeated home campaign at the Carrier Dome, and a team that not only survived the program's darkest hour, but thrived at the highest level. And it truly was a season to remember.